To talk about what personality researcher that I found the most interesting, we are going to throw it all the way back to the beginning of the semester with a very interesting man known as Sigmund Freud. As a psychology major, there is not many people that you will meet that do not know his name. He is one of the most popular psychologists in our history, mainly because, well, in my eyes, he was weird. Freud believed that there were two instincts in our life instincts and our death instincts. He also insisted that basically everything that we do comes out of this little dark evil personality in our head called our id. Our ids knew exactly what we really wanted to say or to hide our dark twisted wishes and thoughts. If you're talking and you slip up and say something that you should not, that is most likely your id talking. Freud grew up despising his father, wanting nothing to do with him. But Freud was weirdly infatuated with his mother, who was only 20 years old. He felt that he was far more superior than his father, and his mother should be attracted to him, not to the father figure. This would later in his career be defined as the Oedipus complex. In his college years, Freud found a new love called cocaine. Back then, this was not an illegal drug, and it was a very popular thing to do. He claimed that it cured depression and persuaded everyone in his family and every one of his friends to give his little miracle drug a try. When he published the work on his drug and its miraculous effects on him, the science community failed him. He changed the way he thought about psychology and focused more to the sexual aspects of psychology and based his work off of that. Freud compared the mind to an iceberg. The top of the iceberg is our conscious self, and we know everything about that. It is how we act around people and what we want the world to see. The part just below the surface of the water is what we could have the option to show. It is our more secretive part, and it hides our raw intentions. Finally, we step back to the id, which is the part all the way down, deep underneath the water. That is our unconscious mind and our instincts that only shows unintentionally or when we purposely bring it out when we are going through some form of trauma. But for the most part, we keep that under wraps in hopes that no one will ever see the dark side or anything along those lines. The id is that little devil that sits on your shoulder trying to go against your little angel, what is known as your superego, who will always make the good choices. Freud was also famous for his work on defense mechanisms. These mechanisms include repression, denial, projection, displacement, regression, and sublimation. He is most well known for his psychosexual stages. This is what angered other fellow psychologists to think he was a little weird and had his priorities out of whack and was too focused on sex. The first stage is the oral stage, the mouth, sucking, and swallowing. Second, the anal stage, the anus, withholding or expelling feces. 3 is the phallic stage, the genital parts, and masturbation. 4 is the latent stage. This is where little to no sexual motivation is present. And the 5th stage is the genital stage. That involves sexual intercourse. To be a healthy human, Freud stated that you had to go through and experience every one of these stages to be successful. But some people tend to get stuck in these stages. That is known as a fixation. If one was stuck in the oral stage, he would say that they were taken away from their mother's feeding too early or forcefully fed. This would then set them into an oral dependency such as smoking or chewing on things. If one was stuck in the anal stage, it meant that they were raised too harsh, toilet trained incorrectly, or too leniently. This would result in obsessiveness, tidiness or untidiness, and being too nice or too mean. If one was stuck in the phallic stage, they would have had an abnormal family leading upon to an unusual relationship with either a mother or father. This could result in vanity, self-obsession, sexual anxiety, or envy. Freud did not have a very large group of followers up until people started to prove his studies incorrect or focus too hard on sex. But to this day, he's still one of the most well-known psychologists, and many have built onto his research. He formed a solid structure for people to continue their knowledge off and on, and that's why I believe that he is one of the most interesting people that we have studied, and it was interesting learning more about him, his thoughts, and his ideas that form psychology today.